Hello and welcome to Knight Stadium. This is Gary Livengood along with head football coach Jonathan Tennant. Coach, your practice sessions are all over, opening of the season, Friday night down in Hampshire. You played AAA Hampshire. Last year they put a whipping on us 40-7. I'm sure there's a little bit of revenge factor in the Hampshire game. And get down there and what's some of your pregame strategies or pregame plans for Hampshire?
Well, whatever strategy or plans we had went out the window when the bus broke down in Cumberland. We got there. The game was supposed to start at 7, and we got there at 6:30. So they agreed to pull it back to 7:30. So normally we try to get there an hour and a half, take the field an hour and a half beforehand, get the kids used to the playing surface, get treatment, get them taped up, and we try to have some offensive meetings and defensive meetings, special teams meetings. But we didn't get a chance to do any of that last Friday because of the situation. And we just try to get them focused and remind them of what they need to do and what they need to do to be successful.
Again, Hampshire AAA school, opening kickoff. They run it back for 84 yards, Coach. What does that do to your emotions and to the boys right off the bat?
Well, in the past, I've seen it, where you could just pack up right then and there. But with this group, we answered right back. The next possession, we took it right down the field and scored. We missed the extra point. But I was real pleased with how we responded to that situation. It's hard to practice special teams in spring or in the summer because you don't want to get your kids hurt, and evidently we didn't practice it enough, or as coaches we didn't do the right thing to get them prepared.
In the first quarter, 7-6, you're down 1 point. Second quarter comes in, and the Enos boy, quarterback, throws a pretty good pass, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's got a strong arm. He has a nice touch on it, and he put it right where it had to beat our defenders. A couple of them, it was a perfect pass. It's hard to defend that. And another one, though, we blew a coverage, and the kid was wide open. So we've got to correct that and move forward.
And at the halftime, it's 28 Hampshire, Preston 6. You go into the locker room. What's the adjustments or routine in the locker room at halftime?
Well, defensively, we didn't make a lot of adjustments. We knew what had happened. We had a kid make a perfect pass against us, and we had a blown coverage. And as far as the running game goes down, we shut them down pretty much, especially compared to last year. This past Friday, we gave up 80 yards rushing, where a year ago we gave up 275. So we were pretty pleased with our run defense. It's just those 3 touchdown passes, that's a lot to overcome.
Yeah, he gave up 189 yards passing to Hampshire. That's a lot of passing yards.
Yes, it is in high school.
Yeah.
And I don't anticipate that being normal. During the preseason, our pass defense was pretty good.
And you were penalty-free in the first half. You had no penalties in the first half, so the boys evidently were well-trained and well-coached. No offside penalties, no motion penalties, no penalties whatsoever. And, again, some big plays by Hampshire in the first half puts us down. And, of course, mental mistakes. You got a lot of young kids in there.
Yeah, still. Offensive line, we had 4 out of the 6. That was the first time they'd ever played varsity football. And I was proud of them. The ones that the first time out, Robbie Schaefer, a sophomore, didn't play last year. Matt Layton, a senior tackle, hasn't played ever. They did pretty well for themselves. They broke down a couple times, but that's to be expected in your first game as a varsity player. T.C. Dalton, first time starting at center. He's a junior, so I was encouraged by what I saw. Not discouraged, but we definitely have work to do.
And when you grade your boys and your team, the different aspects of it, the young kids, you didn't force any turnovers on defense.
Right.
No intercepted passes, no fumbles, forced fumbles or anything. Is that something you work on or you're going to work on in practice?
Yeah, we're going to work on that. That was a problem for us last year. Right now we're minus 4 in turnovers. We threw 3 interceptions and lost a fumble. Last year we ended up about even by the end of the year. But no, our defense, we've got to take the football away, either 3 and outs or turnovers.
And you look at the 34 points. That's not an indication of the game itself when you got beat 34-14, because, like I said, the long touchdown run on the kickoff and that one long pass coverage. But your defense overall really played well. When you look at your defense, the Shroud Boy, I was surprised. 10 tackles.
Yeah. Casey Shroud, Sam linebacker, he did a great job. He misread some plays, but it ended up not hurting us too bad. But we still have to get better. Yeah, defensively, we only gave up 80 yards rushing. Total yards, we outgained them offensively, 262 to 260. But those big plays, you're right, the defense, some of those touchdowns, not on them. The special teams touchdown, we turn it over inside our own 30. That's asking the defense a lot. And the one, the receiver came out late. Our secondary didn't see him. Our corner was up on the line of scrimmage because when they broke the huddle, there was no one over on that side. Yeah. So he moved up to the line of scrimmage where he's supposed to be. And evidently, this receiver came off the sideline, lined up on the numbers, and it was a planned play because they threw it immediately. There was no one within 30 yards of him.
Yeah, I know the radio announcer was wondering what was going on.
So were we. We asked our.
But, you're lucky in listening, the idea was that you had a lot of boys going to the football.
Yeah, that's a big change from last year.
A lot of boys going to football. It wasn't 1 or 2 around it. There was 5, 6, 7, 8 boys around the football at all times.
Yeah, like I said, even after I watched film, I wasn't as discouraged because I saw a lot of good things. And the mistakes that we made are very correctable. The coverages, we can correct that. I don't think it's ever going to happen again where a guy walks off the sideline and lines up and they throw a 40-yard touchdown pass to him. And I know our corners are much better than what they played last week. So I'm truly, the kids are encouraged. They understand what happened. They understand that they kind of gave one away.
And again, defensively, the cool boy had tackled Tasker. And did the big 300-pound DeWitt boy play defense?
He played every play, offense and defense. Which
never heard his name called on defense.
Well, in this scheme that we played, he had one job to do, and that was to jack up that center and try to stop their guards from pulling, and it was effective. He took one for the team. He's not going to make a lot of tackles. In our defense, the defensive line, it's not really designed for them to make tackles. They're to eat up blockers, and he did a good job at that.
So that forces the run game to the outside, to the edges.
And to the linebackers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's evidently why the linebackers are making so many tackles Friday night. Coach, offensively, Scott Stone, the sophomore, started 10 for 24, but there was 3, 4, 5 passes dropped.
Yeah.
From that young man.
Yeah, we've been preaching all preseason. If you're a young guy, you're a freshman, sophomore, haven't played before. There's opportunities for you, and you got to be ready when they come. We had some kids that were winded. They were playing hard. You got to give them a break. You got kids playing both sides of the ball, and when your number's called, you got to be ready. One drop pass in particular killed a 19-play drive on third down, but those things happen. You just have to overcome them.
Scott didn't do too awfully bad. He had 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions, had 3 turnovers, and again, that doesn't help the offense out any.
No, but what we liked about Friday was he was able to run the ball effectively. When he got in trouble in the pocket, he pulled it down and scrambled for a first down, or he ran a nice option play. But he's got to be more careful with the football, either receiving the snaps or when you put it in the air. We got to don't get greedy. Just take what the defense gives you, and we'll be fine.
155 yards rushing. Yep. Really, and The Newsom boys, 65 yards. Manier, 31 yards. And I forget what Stone had, but you had 3 or 4 boys, and Josiah Noose, 60 yards. Levi Nolan, 55 yards.
Yeah.
You had 3 or 4 runners were getting over 50 yards rushing.
That's what we want. We want to spread it around because all 3 of them can take it to the house. And we got to improve our inside running, but we can get the edge on most teams. I'm pretty confident about that.
And your leading, I think, was your leading receiver, the Newsom boy, 3 instead of rushing, it was pass receiving. He had 3 catches for 65 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yes. He was our offensive player of the week.
Okay, Logan Manier, 3 catches for 31 yards. Then Josiah Noose had 7 carries for 60 yards.
Yeah, he broke that 142-yard run, which got us right back in the game. But he has to understand that the most important thing is to protect the football. And this is not new for him. He played JV, but this is his first real varsity experience at running back. And I think we're going to see a lot better out of Josiah. He's very talented.
How would you grade your total offensive production Friday night? A, B, C, D.
I would have to give it a C minus, just because of the turnovers. If we don't have the turnovers, then you're talking about a B plus. What's keeping it from an A is the offensive line. We've got to get better up front. We've got to communicate better, and we've got to drive people off the football.
Now, defensively, as a defensive unit, how would you grade them as a unit? I mean, offensive line, linebackers, and your secondary. How would you grade your defense?
Overall, I would say probably a B plus, maybe B plus. If we don't have those 3 touchdown passes, it's an A plus. Like I told the kids, there's 5 or 6 plays in every football game that make a difference, and you don't know which one it is and when it's going to come. It's going to be in the first quarter, second quarter. It can come at any time, so you got to be ready for every play. And those 3 plays we weren't ready.
And you average football team at high school average, what, 50 to 60 plays a game?
Yes. And
you pick out 4. I picked out 4 plays Friday night. Take those 4 plays out, and you get your first win of the season.
Yeah, it's I was tickled to death how we played run defense. Except those 3 plays on defense, we did very well. Offensively, we moved the football. We had a 19-play drive that fizzled at the end. And as the season goes along, we'll learn how to finish that up.
Injury report for Hampshire. Come out of it all right?
We got a couple banged up shoulders. Hopefully they'll be ready to go Friday. We just got to nurse them back to health. And besides that, we're in pretty good shape.
The weather down there was very hot and humid, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was hotter than it was around here.
And from what I understand, the boys evidently were in excellent shape after reading an article about running the hill. So evidently running the hill did well because, I mean, they were in good shape. I've talked with your athletic trainer.
Yeah, they're in pretty good shape. But no matter how good a shape you are, when you play that first game, the kids get excited, and it's a lot more mentally. You just got to settle them down and remind them to breathe, and we settled down eventually. And but as long as you keep playing, sooner or later you're going to get tired, no matter how good a shape you're in. At some point, you're going to fatigue. The idea is just you fatigue later than your opponent.
So you lose your first game 34-14, and you are home for the next 4 weeks. And the first game is Lewis County. Let's back up a minute and talk about your JV game that you had on Monday night against Morgantown High up here. I heard some good reports about the JV team.
From what I saw, we've got a lot of work to do, especially at the offensive line. There's a lot of potential down there. We got 15 freshmen that have really committed to the program, and we got some newcomers that are playing JV. It's tough to tell because Morgantown, they had all sophomores and juniors. They didn't have any freshmen. They have a separate group. We played mostly freshmen and sophomores. So it's hard to get a gauge from what we saw last night, Thursday night. But I know I'm excited about that group because they've got 15 kids that are totally committed to the program.
No, that's a good foundation starting. And how many JV games do you have planned for the year?
Right now, 8. But that changes week to week. It just depends on. We will never cancel a JV game as long as I'm here because I think it's too important. Unless it becomes unsafe, that's the only reason we do it. But that's why we don't have a freshman team, is we want to concentrate on the JV. So I think it's more realistic to the varsity than freshman football.
Coach, Friday night you open up the home season against AAA Lewis County. Last year they were 6-0 in the Big Ten, won the Big Ten Conference. They put a whipping on us 50-0 down at Lewis County. Pre-season they were ranked 14th, but a team that you scrimmaged here at Preston went down to Lewis County last Friday, and I think they were down 7-0 at half, but University High came back and beat Lewis County 28-7. Can you pull any things out of the scrimmage compared to the Lewis County game this Friday night?
Yeah, we're encouraged by what we saw on film. We have the University Lewis County film, and we kind of like what we see. They're nothing like they were last year. And you're right, we went down there and they smacked us in the mouth. They bloodied us. I mean, literally. We came out of that game with 2 concussions, banged up shoulder, and a lot of blood, literally. So we kind of owe those guys something, and we'll be ready for them Friday because our kids have pride, and they knew they took a beating down there, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know if we'll win or lose, but I know our kids are going to compete.
And just like watching practice, there's more pads popping, you know what I mean, and more helmets popping, and there's some contact going on. We know the football is a collision sport, and they're actually doing it in practice, so you know that they're just waiting to get somebody else in a different colored jersey.
Right. Compare this team to last year's team, we are a much more physical football team. This time last year, I was really worried, very worried about how physical we were after that first game. I mean, we just got pounded by Hampshire. This year, I'm disappointed that we lost, but not discouraged because we competed and we hit hard for 4 quarters, and things are going to work out for us.
And we know that Lewis County's Benson has built a good program down there in the 7 years that he's been down there. You know, they've been to the playoffs the last 3 years, so you're going to play a quality team, but they've lost quite a few players from last year's team that went to the state playoffs. They were 8-2 last year. Right. They got the Mark Metzer back, Skylar Carlton back, Moneypenny back. They got some good skilled players back, but not the quality of players that they had last year.
Yeah, that's why we're encouraged. Well, from what we see on film, they're nothing like they were last year. They're not as big as they were last year. I don't think they're going to be as strong, but they're going to be well coached. And the running back, Metzger, he's talented and he's experienced, so we've got to know where he is.
And they got this Martin boy, Dustin Martin, supposed to be the fastest player on the team, and he runs back kickoffs and punts and so forth, and if you get him outside, someone said he's going to be tough to catch.
Yeah, I know. We've seen that. He didn't get outside of University, and we got outside of University. So, like I said, there's some things we see on film that we like.
What's your overall game plan offensively for? And Lewis County only threw 3 passes against University High School. They ran the ball. The University High School's defense didn't really shut them down the second half.
Yeah, like I said, Lewis couldn't get outside. They had a little success up the middle, but then they shut that down, and we've only seen them throw 3 passes, and they haven't completed any. We've seen them run the ball on 3rd and long, so that tells me they don't have very much confidence in their passing game. So defensively, we're preparing to stop the run and play man on the outside and see what happens.
Well, this is the first season for the quarterback for the Carlton boy. He played defense most of last year and split end, but now he's a quarterback, so a lot of inexperience there in the quarterback position. So defensively, you still playing the 4-man down?
Yeah, 4-3. We made a few adjustments in that when we were going against the wing T, such as we are this week. They play the same offense that Hampshire does, so our kids got a week of it under the belt. So I expect good things.
And again, looking at them size-wise, the Metzger boys 205, the Hall boys back on the offensive line 255, the Gump boys 280, and they got a couple other big boys on the offensive line. But looking at our offensive line, weight-wise, we match up pretty good, don't we?
Yeah. Once again, looking at them on film, I think that's the major difference between this year and last year. They had some men playing offensive line, and they were strong, and they were big, and they were mean. We'll see what happens Friday night, but I don't see that on film so far.
So make sure you come to Knight Stadium. Friday night, 7:30 is kickoff when the Lewis County Minutemen, a AAA school, comes in here to Knight Stadium and play the Preston Knights. 0-1, 0-1. So, Coach, I know you're doing scouting, you've watched film and so forth, then you go out. Do you have a scout team that kind of runs some plays that maybe Lewis County or the other opponents would run against our starting defense?
Yes, sir. We chart every play that they run. When we get their film, we trade film with them. We chart every play and we diagram, put on play cards, and we hold it up in the huddle for the scout team. And just finishing up practice tonight, that's one thing I'm not very happy about at this point. And we've got to get a better look from the scout team. I mean, our first team, offense or defense, just dominates them. And those are JV kids.
Yeah.
And I've challenged them to do better than what they're doing because we need them to make us better. The twos have to make the ones better. And if that happens, then maybe you might be a one day.
No big plays Friday night. Shut them down with special teams. I would look for Preston to come out with their first win of the season against Lewis County.
Well, we're going to prepare for it. I think we have a good opportunity if we play anywhere the way we're capable. We come out with lots of energy and lots of focus, you know, and come out with revenge on our minds because it was ugly last year, and most of the kids are back from last year. So hopefully we'll have a big crowd and to help cheer us on.
And looking at the attitude and look at the kids at practice, you know, and their attitude is much different from last year, and the group of kids seem to be better, more chemistry.
Right. Yeah.
In this team.
Yeah, I've mentioned that to someone that these kids actually like each other. They hang out with each other, and they're a very focused group. They're very motivated. When we watched film Monday evening, there wasn't a word spoken. And normally, some kids like to joke and laugh and think it's big, funny, but these kids are very coachable. They're very focused, and they got a lot out of that film session yesterday evening.
Now, who's stepping up in leadership, offense, defense? What one or two players is really stepping up out on the field and taking charge?
Right now, Nick DeWitt, he's been a leader in the locker room. He's always been a leader, and we'll miss him when he graduates because he provides such great leadership for us. Defensively, it's more of a group thing. They feed off each other. Right now, Austin Newsom is playing offense and defense like a madman. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen someone play like he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he sets the tone with blocking on offense, and he sets the tone with tackling on defense. And they feed off of him, and we're looking forward to see him play.
Yeah, he's a 5'10", 158-pound junior. So, you know,
and he's one of those kids that took his lumps last year as a sophomore, like most of them that are juniors. And most of them played varsity as sophomores. So they're they're figuring it out, and hopefully it'll pay off in the victory column.
So come up to the Knight Stadium Friday night. A beautiful view from the stadium, and I'm sure that Coach Tennett's going to have our players ready against Lewis County on Friday night. It's going to be a beautiful night. Looks like the weather's going to be nice, and flag falls here already in Preston County, Coach.
Feels like it. When the fans come in, we moved our student section over down to this other end. So the students come down by the central office side instead of out there all by yourself.
Yeah, you're down here in the mix of things.
Yep.
Coach, any final comments for our fans for Friday night?
I just want to thank everyone for all the support. We've had several fundraisers, and the community really stepped up and helped out these kids. We were able to buy some new equipment, and it really makes a big difference, any donations that we get.
Real good. So, on behalf of Steve Blake, our producer, director, cameraman, head coach Jonathan Tennant, this is Gary Livengood thanking you for watching the Coaches Show.